Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Crochet Witch Tarot. And today, I feel like I just sounded like a game show host. Today I am doing a VR to a tag that came out almost a year ago now from Dawn Michelle at Boho Tarot. It is the Hearth and Home Decks tag. This was brought to my attention by the loveliest person, and I can't believe I missed this one. I don't know that I was really conscious of TarotTube at the time. I can't exactly remember when I started watching, but this might have been before my watching time. But today is a very rainy day. It's very cozy right now, and we're getting into that. Well, we're about to get into that fall season, and I'm very excited about it. So I figured what better way to further build the excitement than to do a tag all about our cozy decks. This is so exciting. I've got my new leaf plate here to set the tone, you know? All right, I think we should just get right into it. So the first prompt is Hearth and Home, the deck that feels like coming home. So right off the bat, I've got two. So for me, when I was thinking about the decks that feel like coming home to me, I wanted them to, of course, mirror my space that I've built up here, and also feel like a little bit of like a safety blanket type thing, because that's how I see coming home. Home is my favorite place to be. I am a total homebody. I like kind of that nesting feeling, like I've got all my things that I love around me all the time. I can be happy existing here for days and days on end without leaving. And I think a big reason I feel that way is because when I do leave the house, especially, you know, with going to work or things like that, is there's a lot of things that I have a tendency to mask when it comes to my own unique brand of neurodivergency, ADHD more specifically, but you know, we've all got our special things, I suppose. And so that can be really exhausting sometimes. So for me, when I come home, I want to feel like I'm entering a safe space where I can take those masks off and just really be myself, whatever that means. So both of these decks in combination feel like they give me that feeling. So anyway, the first deck I have today is the Green Witch Tarot. Now, this deck feels like Hearth and Home to me because this is sort of the aesthetic of my house, what I've kind of tried to do with the decor, I guess. Oh, we are too far. Oh, sorry, leaf plate. Well, you all got to see the prettiness of the leaf plate, so now we will bring it in. So this deck makes me think of Hearth and Home because, one, like I said, this imagery really mirrors the aesthetic of my personal taste in home decor. It's got all these warm tones, it feels really cozy, and that's important to me in my space. But also, this being the Green Witch Tarot, it really mirrors my own personal practice when it comes to witchcraft or the work I do with tarot. This really aligns with my own practice, these images. And it's sort of like, I feel like this deck is how I see magic. And when I enter my Hearth and Home, I want it to feel very magical and cozy in this way. And I think that's a magic all its own, is being able to build a space for yourself that feels like safety and warm and inviting, and that's always been something that's important to me. I love going through these images. Like, this is the world that I feel like I'm in. I just love these cards. It also is, you know, this deck is newer to me, but I've already spent a lot of time with it, again, because I think I just felt so instantly connected to it that it's a deck that I already feel very familiar with. So that's another part of that safety feeling, is familiarity. Because something that is maybe a different thing for me, not saying that it's not, I'm not saying it's a unique experience, I guess. But I'm saying that maybe it's different from a lot of experiences, is that when I bring new items into my home, I find that I need to get used to them almost. So when I get in new decks, for example, I will of course open them, because you gotta. That's the exciting part, right? So I open them, I flip through the cards, but then I pretty much put them back in their box, and I leave them out, either on my coffee table or the bin I have next to my reading desk, so that I can see them, and I kind of need to get used to them being here. If I don't know if that makes any sense, but I don't tend to use them right away for readings, because I almost need to get used to them just being in my space. What was my point in that? I don't remember my point. Although, okay, I guess that all that to say that all of the decks that I'm showing today, there is that similar safety kind of theme, in that I know the decks very well. They've been here for a lot, like enough time, or I've used them so much in the short span I've had them that they feel acclimated with my space here. I don't know if that made any sorts of sense. Anyhow, so this is my first pick for Hearth and Home. A big thing just being that it really mirrors my own decor style. My second choice, I had to include both, because the Greenwich Tarot evokes the feeling of Hearth and Home for me, but my next deck is the Playful Heart Tarot, which represents that feeling of unmasking for me. This deck very much, no! Oh no, it's flipped around. I gotta go through and sort that out. Also, I edged it in rainbow colors. How neat, isn't that cool? This deck feels like how I picture the inside of my brain. This is what's going on up there a lot of the time. And also how I am learning to view my brain. So, a superpower of mine, I like to say, is that I am a very creative thinker. I feel like I see the world in full saturation color all of the time, and it's really exciting. But when you're kind of out and about in public, I have a learned tendency to kind of mute myself a bit, which is a habit I am trying to break. But this deck feels like myself in full color, and so it really represents that feeling of coming home and getting to just turn myself all the way up. This deck just makes me so happy. I don't know why there's reversals, or it's all, well, I probably dropped it. That's what happened. So this deck is very special to me because it really represents me being my whole self, getting to do that in my safe space, but also it's one that helps me work on bringing that feeling of safety around with me anywhere I am. So this is my look at that, look at all the colors. That is my second choice that I have allowed for myself for Hearth and Home. So our next prompt is Gather Together, a deck that reminds you of family and friends. Now my pick for this is the Carte Postal Tarot. I know I'm saying that wrong, but I can't remember. Sandy from Exploring Tarot says it so nicely, and I've got no idea how to say it. But there's two reasons this is my choice for the Gather Together deck. One is that this is a deck that both my friends Sandy and Andy have. And a week ago, we did this really fun thing where we had a group video chat and we went through this deck card by card together to talk about the images and what we thought they were trying to say and just gain a better understanding of this deck, especially since it doesn't have a guidebook as of right now. It's also just one we're all really excited about. It's so beautiful. So this makes me think of Friends because that was such a cool thing that we decided to do, and I feel so bonded to this deck instantly because of it, but every time I bring it out, it makes me think of them as well, which is really fun to have that connection to it. Now, the other reason I picked this deck is also because it feels very ancestral to me. When I go through these images, they feel familiar in that specific kind of way. Like these could have been distant relatives of mine that I'm going through like an old shoebox of pictures found in an attic or something. That's what this deck really feels like to me. Like I've stumbled upon these family photos, which is really, really neat. I do want to use, I've never really done an ancestral reading on myself, or actually in general. But I think this deck would be a really cool place to try that out. Best card, look at that cat. Look at him. Oh, so cute. So, this is the Carte Postal Tarot, and that is my choice for Gather Together. Next up, we have Light Up Your Life, the deck that lights your way through the dark. Now, this is another deck that is a bit newer to me, but like the Green Witch, is one that I've spent so much time with already, and just felt like I related it to it so well. It just had a shorter simmer period, we can call it. And that is the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck. This is an oracle. This is the same artwork that is in the Into the Lonely Woods oracle, if you have that one. And these monsters just feel familiar to me. But beyond that, the messages I get from this deck are always really comforting and uplifting, and also kind of willing to call me out on when I'm being unnecessarily negative. Now, I don't say that, you know, it goes in any sort of like toxic positive direction, or it's like too positive or anything like that. I don't believe in anything really being too positive. I don't know. That's my own view on that, is I don't really think a deck could necessarily be too positive. I think it depends on how you look at the cards. Anyhow, this artwork just makes me smile, and all of the messages are just encouraging in the right kind of way, where I don't feel like it's babying me by any means, but it's just a really great oracle to pull out when I'm feeling a little vulnerable and need some advice, legitimate advice, but to be comforted all at the same time. This is just a really fantastic deck for that. And the artwork is just so cozy, isn't it? I really love this one. I don't have the Into the Lonely Woods. Because that one, from what I know, seems a bit centered specifically on grief, which is not something I feel like I need an oracle for at the moment. So anyway, oh my gosh. Here I am just explaining away again things I don't need to. So if you like the artwork of the Into the Lonely Woods deck, but don't really feel like you need a deck centering on grief, this is a really great option, the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck, because it takes that same artwork, but feels more just like a general oracle to me. They're so darn cute. So that is my pick for the Light Up Your Life, and that is the Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck. Now we have, oh, I'm excited about this one. This is the Rainy Days, a deck you want to curl up with on a rainy day. My pick for that is 100% the Oak, Ash, and Thorn Tarot. This is one, I love rainy days, first of all. Like I said, we're having a rainy day right now. And it has such a cozy feeling. Rainy days when you get to be inside all day. And this deck feels like the ultimate cozy deck to me. It's got those warm tones and animals that are really familiar to me. I feel like on a rainy day at home, I could look out the window and see these animals. So using this deck makes me feel like I'm just kind of looking outside the window. I mean, that's why I just love it in general. But it has a good amount of scenes where it is raining. Perfect card to pull onto. And again, it's got that really autumnal feel to me. The warm color palette that just makes it feel so cozy in that way. Oh my gosh, I love this deck. I really do. I could use this on any day, but oh my gosh, the like autumn rainy days when you have nowhere to go and you could just stay inside, light your cinnamon scented candles, and then like playing with this deck. I mean, does that not sound like the perfect day? Of course, watching Over the Garden Wall as well. That is a must for the fall. If you've not seen that show, I highly recommend, but you have to wait until it feels like fall. You don't have to, but it makes a whole experience of it. I recommend waiting until the fall to experience that show, but it is very good. I could look at these cards all day. I have not, as of now, pre-ordered the mini size, the travel edition size. I'm not sure exactly that I really want a smaller version, but it does seem really cool. And I think for the whole month of August there's a sale going on. I think. So that's interesting. That's something to note, I suppose. I think I'm just talking to make excuses to keep going through these cards. Anyhow, this is my pick for the rainy days, and it is the Oak, Ash, and Thorn Tarot. Next up, we have Harvest Nights, a deck that evokes harvest vibes. I can't read my own handwriting. Harvest vibes or bonfire nights. So, to me, bonfires are very much a summertime thing. It's not something I really experience, not Not that, well, okay. I'm taking this tag and having it mean fall. It does not mean that. I need to get that unstuck from my head. It's exciting to do right now. Anyway. Aside from that, I don't really go to many bonfires. I like them. Don't like the smell of wood, though. Like, when it's on your skin afterwards. Ugh. So, we're going with the harvest vibes. Long story short. And the deck that really evokes that for me is my Halloween tarot in a tin. Oh, it's so cute. Is it not so cute? So for me, when I think of harvest, I'm thinking of that real, like, we are into fall. All the vegetables from our garden are collected. We're stocking up the stores for winter. And so this deck really makes me think of that. And I also, to me, what signals the end of that harvest season is Halloween. As soon as Halloween's over, my brain is headed into winter. But I love using this deck, honestly, starting now through Halloween, because we're really into that harvest time right now. And this deck feels, again, really, really cozy to me. I got this as a Christmas gift from my older sister, which was really cool. So that adds, I feel like, some coziness to it too, but it's fun. It's a little cheesy, but in the best kind of way. I love these black cats that we get. It's just a really fun deck. It's a small size, so, I love those tarot in a tins. I feel like that makes them feel cozy all on its own for some reason. So, this is my pick for Harvest Nights, and it is the Halloween Tarot in a tin. Okay. The next set of decks. Oh no, I didn't bring one over. Bummer. Alright, we'll show the first one. I've got two picks, spoiler alert. The next prompt is Handmade with Love, a deck that feels like a homespun gift. So my first pick is the Little Monsters Tarot. I don't really know too much about this deck. I don't necessarily think it's hand cut anyway, but it kind of feels that way. It's on this really interesting soft paper cardstock that it feels homemade, and it came in this handmade cardboard box. And so that really gives me that feeling as well. But I feel like using this deck, I almost get the sense of I'm getting an insight into someone's sketchbook. That's really what it feels like to me. Like they kind of printed out all these cute little monster drawings they had and cut them out into their own little cards. That's really what this deck feels like. The cardstock is just it's so soft. It really makes it feel like this homemade gift. And it's such a unique little deck that I just really love. I really love this one. And again, it's that smaller size that feels so just inviting and cozy. Aren't they so cute? So this is my first pick for Handmade with Love. Now, I'm going to quickly grab the other, and I will be back. Alrighty, my second pick for Handmade with Love is the Coastal Curiosities Oracle. Now the reason I pick this is because of the collage art style. Because in a sense, I mean, I guess every deck is handmade in a way, But I feel like looking at these images, I get the full sense of the time and thought the creator put into making this oracle deck. And it just feels so perfectly pieced together to match up with these keywords. And all of the images used really have such a homey feel to them. Wherever they were pulled from, it's got this vintage, cozy feel to it. And it kind of reminds me almost of like vintage postcards in a way. Like, I feel like it would make sense to me if I just received one of these cards in the mail or something. Like someone collaged a picture for me. It just really gives such a handmade feel to me. Going through these cards, and this is also such a favorite, so I think it's also just that I feel so connected to this deck. Gosh, I love this one. It's so good. So that is my second choice for Handmade with Love, and I have to do an honorable mention because Dawn Michelle mentioned hers as her honorable mention, and so I just have to too, because I followed along with her mod with me for her Antique Anatomy. I think it was a mod with me. She showed her mod regardless, and so I emulated her mod for a copy of Antique Anatomy for myself, and also added some of my own elements, which was really fun. So this deck feels like a handmade gift because I entirely got to personalize it to myself. So I added the book pages just like Dawn Michelle did, but I also added in some stickers to add symbols that feel personal to me, which is really very cool. And so the whole act of customizing a deck for myself, of course, makes it feel really handmade with love, because it's all according to my own tastes and things that make sense to me. I really should do a walkthrough of this to kind of show the symbols I picked, because it was a lot of fun to think about and pick out from the book I have. But this, I mean, the idea for the mod was brilliant, and also doing it was so much fun. I spent a whole weekend just piecing together these cards, and I had such a good time doing it. So this is my honorable mention, and it is my modified Antique Anatomy. So next we have Thankful, Grateful, Blessed, a deck that helps you appreciate the good times. And for me, that is the Victorian Fairy Tarot. This deck is just so bright and happy. The backs alone just make me think of good times, because they're just so beautiful, and these colors are just some of my favorite colors. It just makes you feel good. This deck was also a very beautiful gift from Paul for Christmas? No. My birthday, I think. One of those. So that adds an element of just like remembering good times. But other than that, the way the deck reads feels very uplifting to me, and similar to the Gentle Creatures, it also really gives messages to bring me back down to earth when maybe I am kind of in a negative headspace, when that's not really what's helpful. It's just a really good deck for doing that, and I don't know, there's just something about this deck that makes me feel appreciative of the things around me, I suppose, and sort of the things that I've done for myself and built around myself. I think a lot of that too has to do with my practice with fairies. because this specific deck feels very nostalgic to me as well. So it's sort of this deck that also encapsulates the journey I've gone on with fairies. And so that's a really cool thing as well. So this is my pick for Thankful, Grateful, Blessed, and it is the Victorian Fairy Tarot. Now we've got one more prompt left, and it is the Comfy and Cozy, the deck that is always there for you, and for me, of course, is the Northern Animal Tarot. This is just a deck that I feel like understands me like no other. It doesn't matter how long it's been since I used it last. It always is going to read the same. It's got a smell that is comforting. The cardstock is just this really nice linen. It feels just so soft at this point with how many times I've shuffled it. And it's just one that feels so familiar. Like I can always come back to this deck and know I'm going to have a really great reading. Because it feels like me and this deck just know each other really well. It feels like we're old friends almost. Which I suppose at this point we are. And so if I'm thinking of comfy and cozy, a deck that makes me feel comfortable too, it's this deck. Again, because I'm so familiar with it, there's that sense of safety, like I've been saying. I love the extra cards too. For me, it's all about these extra cards. That's always what pops up for me, and I think is what makes this deck so special. So that is, look at that card, so cute. That's my pick for the Comfy and Cozy deck, and it is the Northern Animal Tarot. But that, my friends, is the last prompt. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I had so much fun thinking about it, and it was just such a perfect, cozy day to do this tag on. But other than that, I hope you are all having a wonderful beginning to your week.